Crafty Hope, and welcome. It is time for my week 33 mixed media prompt card for hashtag Crafty Hope prompts. This is a challenge I created for myself, but I welcome you to play along. Basically, I took a deck of 52 playing cards with the knowledge that there are also 52 weeks in a year. And I've decided to pull 3 prompts a week each Monday, alter a playing card, and basically create a prompt deck. So that's what I'm doing, is basically just altering playing cards so that they are prompt decks, because on one side I have a pretty side, just like a playing card has a prettier side, and then the other side has, well, you know, the suits and numbers. So on my other side I have my prompts. This is this week 32's, and I do this every Monday. I pull 3 prompts, alter my card, and then each Saturday I do a different project with those same 3 prompts. Easy peasy. I have a full list of the 156 prompts that I am using linked below for you to use. But I also want you to know that I want you to know that you're invited to play along, and I may be on week 33, but you could start week 1 now and start drawing prompts, or you can use the prompts that I've drawn, or you can just watch one of the videos in the playlist at the end and pick prompts from there. Whatever inspires you. My larger projects tend to be anything art journal pages like I did this past week, or tags, or what else have I done? I did a little assemblage house. I've done encaustic panels. I altered this can that has my prompts in it, bookmarks, all kinds of things. Just whatever the prompts inspire me to do. But today is Monday, so it is time to pull 3 prompts. So I'm going to pick up these cards and I'm going to move them over here. I've got more room over here today. Okay, so we are going to pull 3 prompts and think about those. So my first prompt is going to be a word or phrase stamp. So I have my stamps, well, at least my cling stamps for the most part, organized by ones that have images, ones that have texture, ones that have letters or numbers, and ones that have words and phrases. Now I also have combo stamps that have like a combination of those things. So, and then I've got mounted stamps that have words or phrases on them, just a couple of those. But basically I need to use a word or phrase stamp, and that would be great. That could be my sentiment, that could be texture in the background. I can use any kind of stamp pad I want. Yeah. So if you don't have a word or phrase stamp, maybe you have some letter stamps and you can make a word or phrase. You can print out something instead. Like I said, I will likely use my stamp as my sentiment. So you could print something out. You can find an image of a word or phrase stamp online and maybe print that out. You know, that's just how I'm rolling. So I need to use those. I don't use them very often. I've narrowed them down to just a few that I think I would use. Yeah, we'll have to look. I'll pull them out in a minute and show you what I've got. So, all right. So that's prompt 1. Prompt 2 is going to be numbers. All right. Which is funny because I was just thinking about the fact that I wanted to incorporate some numbers in something. If you saw my art journal page on Saturday, you saw that I did use some number stamps actually in it, but I thought of something else I wanted to do with some numbers and stencils. So you can do numbers any number of ways. You can just write numbers in it, which I think was my initial intention with this one, was to write random numbers and things. You can do a stamp, a stencil. You can cut numbers out of a book. You can do, like, I love page numbers from a book page. There's something about it. You can have, I've actually got, and I don't even know what set it was from. This is some kind of little scrapbooking thing. There's a number 7. I believe it's a sticker. So you could use number stickers, rub-ons, all kinds of stuff. You've got like an old math book that just has numbers, or ledger pages that have numbers in them. So many opportunities to use numbers. There's scrapbook papers with numbers on them. Just numbers, somehow incorporate numbers. So word or phrase stamp and numbers. Okay. All right. I'm feeling those. Let's see what number 3 is for our prompt. And this is metal. Oof, that's going to be difficult. We just had to use beads and something. And now we have to use metal of some kind. So y'all, I am, and I mentioned it in my last 2 Crafty Oak Prompts videos, I am a jewelry artist. So I work with a lot of metal. In fact, I've got some tin I've cut out here recently. Oh, goodness. That I've cut down to use in some earrings. So, you know, I've got metal like that, but I've also got like the stuff that can be embossed as metal. You could use, what is that stuff? It's actual duct tape, not duct. Anyway, it's the metal, like aluminum foil tape. That could be a metal. You can use like gold foil, would be a metal. What else could be? Metal beads, like I just used in Saturday's project. If you want to take that as metallics and maybe use a metallic ink of some kind, but just some kind of way if you like heavy metal and want to put lyrics to a heavy metal song, maybe that. Yeah. So there's different ways to, I'm trying to think how I was thinking I would do. Even metal buttons could be neat. Okay. So I'm going to go grab some of these things and, yeah, I'm going to think on this and I'll be back. Okay, let's go through this real quick. For word and phrase stamp, I did pull out my favorite mounted stamp that's got words on it. I love this one. I use it all the time for different things. I think I've even used it in polymer clay before. This I would consider a combo one. I think I have it. I mean, it's a Tim Holtz one, and it has, I really do have it like backwards. Okay, so it's got like little things with words on it, the definition of creativity, things like that. This is my separated words one, so this is mostly just thank you ones. I don't use that one. Here's some little quotes. This is, I don't even remember, but it says things like stay strong, magic is something you make, to keep taking chances, things like that. So I've got a couple of those. There's also a few with like single words like believe and love and hope on it. And then I've got more combo ones. Ooh, here. So here's another little Tim Holtz one that says like hello and love and, you know. So like I said, they are combo sets. I don't know. Okay, so those are my word and phrase stamps. I will decide what I will use when I get to it. This is a small card. I will have to use it on both sides. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. For numbers. What did I get out for numbers? Oh, Lord. Oh, I know. I got a couple of books that have, I think the back of this one has like a bunch of things numbered here. So that's some nice numbering. But even better, I found this book, which is a guide of United States coins. And in here, there are huge sections of, I guess, the dollar amounts of things. So I thought that could be, oh, look at this one. That's a nice big one. So that, I think I may start, oh, that's another big one. May use as my paper to collage onto my card. So there are those for numbers. And then metal. I pulled out 2 different things, gold and silver leaf. So I've got packages of these that I might use, but I also have, I wanted to show y'all the aluminum tape. So this is it. It is like a big aluminum sticker. It, yeah, it can be used for all kinds of things. I've seen people run them through embossing folders and put alcohol ink on them. All kinds of things. I might try to combine them maybe with the stamps. I'm not sure yet. I've got those 2 things out. We'll see what happens. This is a small space. All right, so I'm going to pick all of this up, put it aside, and we're going to alter this card. The first thing I do is grab that coin book. I end up not using that other book at all because I found big sections like that of these numbers in here. And like I said, I thought it was kind of perfect for just as a collage to go ahead and have numbers in the background. I have another idea for my project on Saturday, how I want to use numbers, but we'll see. I haven't decided exactly what that project's going to be. I just know how I want to use numbers. So with these cards, they are super laminated, and so they are hard to get other things on it. Like if I tried to just paint on there, it would pull up and not really stick to the card because of that plastic lamination. So I need to alter it in some way first, and my favorite way to do that is to collage. I'm using some acrylic matte medium to stick down the paper. Other options would be to gesso with several layers, or to sand down or sand off some of that plastic lamination. I haven't really liked that this time around, so yeah, I really enjoy collage. If you've seen some of my other videos, you know that for anything, pretty much my first step is to collage some things down for the most part. So I've glued that down. I'm going to trim off some of the excess, because you saw I just folded it up a little bit so that the numbers are on both sides, and there's a little bit of space at the top of one of them. So the stuff I trim off, I'm going to glue on in that space and just kind of collage it around on the card. And this will give me not only the numbers, but some extra texture and things like that, so that for my next steps, it'll be kind of interesting. So yeah, so I'm just going to take that section there, put my acrylic medium down, and yeah, glue this. I have been having fun with this matte medium. The more I use it, the more, I don't know, I really liked it when I first got it, and then I didn't for a while, and now that I'm using it kind of with a wet paintbrush and using plenty of it, it's working a lot better for me. I just try to be too stingy with it sometimes. So you can see I've got those two there, and I was like, well, you know what, this needs a little, breaking this up, we'll get some little extra texture and see what happens. I really didn't know what I was going to do with these 3 prompts when I did this, and that's part of this prompt project for me. When I do the cards, it lets me play with the materials a little in the smaller space so that I can think on these prompts, because I do this is like right after I pull the prompts, I go ahead and start grabbing stuff and I play with it on the card, and that gives me a better idea of how I want to use these things together, especially for my larger project. So that's part of what the card itself is for, is to, I'll end up with a card in the end, but it also lets me experiment with these materials a little. All right, so for some reason, I wanted to play around with my soft pastels. I've got more, but I just decided to grab this little set. I can't remember, it's something gallery. I will try to link it, but it's just a small set of soft pastels. And you saw with the brown, I kind of just put it down and wet it with some water, and then shaved off some of that pale pink. And then I've got a baby wipe, and I'm going to try to move some of that color around, but really it just kind of wipes it off. I'm not great with soft pastels, but I wanted to play with them. So while that was kind of wet with the baby wipe and the water I'm putting that pink down again and using my finger to just kind of blend it into that wet card. And I'll use the brown a little as well and see what happens. And yeah, I'm just wiping stuff away. What's your favorite way to use a soft pastel? I am still experimenting because I have supplies like this that I never use. There's possibly a prompt in here to use these pastels. Have I already pulled it? Y'all, I don't know. I don't know. All right, so that just gave me a little bit of something in the background. And I decided to go ahead and use my word or letters or word or phrase stamp, and I've got the word believe on here with some Lucky Clover Distress Oxide, and I'm gonna just stamp it down the card. Now I'm going to kind of offset it in a couple places like that, so it's not just believe down the card, because I'm using it for texture for the most part. So just think about that. If you don't have texture stamps, you can always use like a letter or a number or a word stamp to get some texture in there. All right, so I've got that covered, and because y'all, if you know me, because it is water reactive, it's a distress product, I am going to activate it with some water. And I'm going to do it, I think, in the messiest way possible. I'm like trying to clean some stuff up first. And that's just to spritz it with my distress sprayer. So the word believe, I'm not even sure that you'll be able to see it in the end of this. But it's some great texture back there. And now it's time for me to bring in my third prompt, which is metal. So I'm using my Ooh glue stick and some of that silver leaf to just stick it on right on the card. And I've got like, I'm not using whole sheets of silver leaf. I found in that set that I hardly ever use. I've just got some loose in there, little pieces. So that's what I'm using. And there is a medium that is recommended you use with silver leaf. But for me, because this is just a card and it's not something I'm trying to professionally do, the Uhu works fine. So you can see I'm giving it a second to dry, and then I'm taking a brush. It's a fairly soft brush to brush away the excess silver leaf that's not, going to stick to the card. And that helps burnish down a little bit of what I put down as well. So that's all three prompts, and I stepped away and cut down my actual prompt words, and now I'm inking them up with that dauber tool thing and I think it's some walnut stain distress ink. So I'm inking that, and like I said, I've got them cut down, and I had decided, I don't know at what point, that I was like, I'm going to just go ahead and do my prompt side, because that's what's been my jam lately. I don't know. The first half of this, it seems like I was doing my more decorative sides, and now I've switched over to I do the functional side first. I don't know why. I think because the I lost my words there. Um, I think because I want the decorative side to be decorative, and this gives me an opportunity to experiment with these first. So just the same way that I like to do the cards to experiment first, I'm doing this functional side as an experimentation before I do my other side. It gives me a minute to think and to just, yeah, have busy hands while my head is moving around with ideas for the other side. So, yeah. So I inked the edges of that, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to frame it up. I've got this pen from the Dollar Tree that I like, and I'm framing it up with just a little bit, and then I'll add some water, because this pen is water reactive if you apply water right after you put it down. Once it dries, it's not near as, it doesn't smear as prettily. And then I write 33 in the upper corner to remember later that this was prompt 33. Also, I've grabbed this, I think it's a silver paint pen of some kind. I was having trouble getting the ink out, but I'm just framing it up, so that's a little bit more metal on this side. And yeah, just framing up my words as well, kind of messily. You can't hardly see that paint pen. It was something I just happened to pick up. I don't know, somewhere. All right, so I didn't think I was going to use this aluminum tape, but I decided to go ahead and play with it. So you can see I cut down just a little section, and I've got this burnishing tool. You could also use a ballpoint pen or something else, some little embossing tool of some kind to kind of write on the back, or you can roll it through your embossing machine just to get some texture on it. But I'm just gonna doodle. I kind of wish I had used a ballpoint pen, because then I could have seen what I was doing on here. But you don't want anything that's too pokey that will poke through everything. Something that's kind of more blunt, I suppose. All right, so I'm getting those doodles, and I flipped it over there a second ago so you can see how that texture is showing up in the foil tape. So, and I'm moving it around trying to decide how I want it on the card, but I'm like, I need to do something on this card. So I've got some gold acrylic paint. This is, I think, Modern Masters, I think is the brand. And I was having trouble with my top because it was sticking. So I got some of the excess paint off, but I'm just going to paint the whole card. This isn't super opaque, so I can still see the numbers through it, and that's kind of important because I don't think I add numbers on here in any other way. I could have absolutely just doodled some numbers or stamped some numbers or whatever in the background, but it's just a background. So I've got that, I pull in, since it's sitting on my desk, I've got that the front page that's blank of that coin book, and I had done a stamp, but I ended up being too big for this card, so I've got that one that I told y'all I like, that mounted one. And I'm using Stays On ink, and I'm going to stamp onto some of that paper from that book. yeah, use what you have, people. And that was sitting there. It was perfectly clear. I was like, yep, I'm going to use it. It's nice and thick. So with that stamped, I know I can't get all those words on there. So I was trying to decide what single word I wanted on here. And so I'm going to tear out the word create. I couldn't decide actually between create or discover at the bottom. So I'm tearing it down. And as I'm doing it, I'm like, yeah, I think, see, I was like, create, discover. And I probably could have done both. But in the end, I decided create was kind of perfect. So I'll ink the edges of that with that same dauber there with the walnut ink on it, walnut stain ink. Yeah. And I think somewhere in here, I decide that I need to cut down that aluminum foil tape just a little bit. I was fighting with that dauber. It was trying to roll over my table. Yeah, so I'm going to cut down that foil tape just so that it just makes a little border for this. Apparently, I cut it crooked. Y'all, I'm sorry. I'm really distracted today. I don't remember what it was I did with this. uh, so I did decide that that background was kind of boring. So I'm going to alter it a little bit, trying to remember to keep some of those numbers showing. So I scribbled with my Stabilo all pencil and then activated it with a little bit of water. And you can kind of see I didn't activate every bit of it, but just enough to get it kind of grungy and drippy. And when I dry this, it's not going to be near as dark. And I'm going to decide that I need a little bit of something more. So I bring in some Payne's Gray acrylic ink to splatter on here. And I'm moving everything around on my desk so I don't get everything super messy because, y'all, so many things on my desk are absolutely covered in splatter. So I've got that on there, and then I will dry again. So much of my time is taken up with just drying things. And I felt like this needed some contrast, some movement, something in the background. So I grabbed some thread from, I got a big haul of it from an estate sale or something a couple weeks back. And so uses like this are great, especially for this. And this may be some of that same thread that I used when my thread broke last weekend with the bead. I don't know if y'all can hear that. I have an itchy nose. I'm trying to scratch my nose and talk in the microphone, so sorry. So I was going to make that little thread bundle in the back, but it still felt like it needed some brightening. So I've got my Sharpie paint pen that I am priming and then splattering on my card. So with that, I felt like it was starting to come together. That felt a little more right. So once again, I will dry this. I think at some point I stick my finger into where I'd primed it. And now I'm going to start putting things down. So I've got my little bundle of thread that's going to go behind my basically sticker of aluminum, and that's what's going to stick that thread down. I don't use any other glue or anything like that to stick it down. And there's where my finger went in the paint. And so I'm looking at that and looking at my crate and trying to decide exactly what was going on. And I decided I did not like the squareness of that aluminum foil tape. Like it felt too blocky to me or something. So I decided to kind of make it be a frame or something. So I'm just clipping at the corners a tiny bit to give it a different shape other than that rectangle, because I don't know, the really blunt corners were really bothering me. I don't know why. It just felt right. And then I'll use Fabri-Tac to stick down my create word. It moved a little bit because that foil, I guess, is slick. And I think I'm going to ink the edges of this card with some black soot distress ink. Yeah, I've got a different dauber now. I'm going to ink the edges of that with the black. And I think that's going to be it for this card, y'all. I hope y'all are going to play along with either my prompts or the ones that you draw. If you did like this, give me a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe and come back later and see what else I'm going to do with these 3 prompts. All right, guys, I appreciate that you spent this time with me. I will see y'all later. Bye.